weirdest, creepiest, most eerie town/city/place in Ohio that you've ever visited? Grew up in Newcomerstown, Ohio, and have the pleasure of having a lot of family buried there. There is a cemetery a few miles west of town that has a whole section dedicated to children/toddlers/stillborn. If that isn't unsettling enough, it's an area you drive through that's decorated with lawn ornament-style classic Disney characters from the 60s, 70s, 80s. It's like It's a Small World ride at the old Disney with a very real, sad, and dark twist. I'm sure at the time it served a purpose for those who were mourning, but couple that with the general economic deterioration of the area and everything that comes along with that, and I promise you, eerie and creepy don't even describe it. Glencoe in Cincinnati. Sometimes it was called the Glencoe Hole. It was demolished a few years ago, but it was an entire little neighborhood of completely abandoned rowhouses and apartments. Every wall was graffitied. Almost every window was boarded up, and the few that weren't looked in on dark, empty rooms. It was not uncommon to see large piles of trash in the street. Plants had completely overgrown, coming up over and through the sidewalks and even into the buildings. It was very empty, but the dark, open windows always made it feel like someone was watching you. On top of all that, Christ Hospital loomed over the area with its illuminated, pristine citadel. It felt like something that would be too heavy-handed a metaphor to write if it weren't real. As I said, it's gone now, but you can get some idea of what it was like by Googling it. Belmore, Ohio. I used to pass through this town on my way back to college on break. It's really small and always looks empty. Once when I was passing through, I saw a random baby doll laying alongside the road at the only four-way stop in town. At first, I thought it was a real child and had to check it out. I've never forgotten that. I lived in Galloway by the cemetery off Alkire. I always got really weird vibes there. Then found out the original house burnt down, and I think the mom and baby died in the fire. There's also a house by the cemetery where the son committed suicide. The whole area is weird. Georgeville is creepy. Just drove through it after a nature hike at Battelle Darby. Just had a weird vibe. Waynesville. It's actually a pretty nice little village but has a reputation for being the most haunted town in Ohio, I think, and they do ghost tours around this time of year, and they stop at like every other building lol, but there's definitely a spooky vibe and like every shop is an antique store which adds to it. The abandoned school outside Irwin. I've been all over Ohio, past all kinds of dilapidated buildings, but this one gives me the willies. I suppose it's because you slow down for the curve where 4 and 161 split, and you can't help but notice it. I grew up in a haunted house in Worthington. Some notoriously haunted land. The local Worthington Library takes kids on haunted house tours every year of my 40 years of life. 6 miles down the high street is High Banks. Indigenous land. 5 banks built 600 feet for military advantage, and there's at least one burial mound. Worthington was one of the earliest established cities in Ohio. AKA raping, pillaging, and murdering. The number of paranormal stories my family, friends, and I have is infinite. Also, it's not technically Ohio, but Point Pleasant and Mothman. TNT military bunker site was where it was born. It appeared on the bridge connecting Ohio to West Virginia. The town is spooky. There's a haunted Mothman hotel to stay in. You can easily strike up a conversation with town folk and hear second and third hand accounts. Right on the waterfront there's a mural depicting a violent and bloody mural of pilgrims murdering indigenous people. Panther's Hollow in Millersburg, Ohio. That drive down the valley into hell on a foggy night is absolutely chilling. Crybaby Bridge is authentic, and the angel with a missing head I thought was myth until the head turned up in a car at my school. On Celebrity Ghost Stories, Marilyn Manson recalls one of the scariest ghost stories I've ever heard. Where? You guessed it, Ohio. He said he's certain and without a doubt that what they dabbled in that night and experienced made him the monster he is today. Brandywine Falls and the area and small neighborhoods around it. If you can find where the old train trestle collapsed, head opposite bike trail entrance. Spent the night there with friends, hearing screams and moans, people calling out. My friend left in the middle of the night after getting so scared he passed himself. Other friends wanted to bail, but they were glad they didn't. Hiram Rapids Cemetery. Couple off lynched Indian graves and gangster graves. Some hidden graves also. Welshfield Inn, worked their closing, walked off the job after 2 months. In the basement, seen a man in a bowler hat who had no face. Started walking towards him and heard him say, "You will buy my hand," and I was gone. Dayton and the surrounding region. Lived there for about 3 years. Overall weird and creepy vibe to the entire area.
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe. The Internet Surfer on YouTube for more horror and scary stories.